So, welcome to our second ICF podcast, where we're catching up with some of our athletes around the world, finding out how they're coping with this crisis, this coronavirus crisis. And this week I have three very special guests. I have Canoe. Well, she's not a Paralympian in the canoe just yet, but she's a two-time Paralympian, Charlotte Henshaw from Great Britain, who's hoping to make her Paralympic debut in the canoe next year. I have two-time Olympic medalist, silver and bronze medalist Jessica Fox, and multiple world champion, of course, joining us from Australia. And I have 2016 Rio Olympic gold medalist in the men's K4, Tom Liebscher, joining us from Germany. Folks, thank you so much for having a chat on our podcast.
Having us.
All right.
Charlotte, I might start with you because I think out of the three of you, I think your quarantine restrictions are probably the toughest of all. Tell us a little bit about your situation at the moment.
So we've been in lockdown. I think this might be the fourth or fifth week, I think. It's been quite tough. We're not allowed out to do anything apart from an hour of exercise a day, which is either a walk or run or cycle. But in terms of getting on the water, that's a no-go. So we've not been on the water for nearly a month now. And we're just trying to make do with what we can at home. We were all scrabbling around trying to find gym equipment that we could use at home safely, if you were by yourself or with other people. So it's been quite tough. It's been quite a challenge. Because the way it worked here was that the elite programs were given sort of special dispensation to carry on training when the lockdown measures were coming in, and then eventually, bit by bit, that was dismantled and our training centre was shut down, but we were allowed to use the water, but then that got stopped. So it was kind of a gradual thing, but then eventually everything ground to a halt and we were holed up at home.
And Charlotte, have you been given any indication at all when you might be allowed back on the water?
No. Obviously we're kind of abiding by the government guidelines, and British Canoeing stance at the moment is that, we have to be doing everything we can to help, the bigger picture, and that's following the government guidelines of staying at home as much as we possibly can. So we're kind of playing it by ear with what the government are recommending. We've got plans obviously put in place now. We know dates for the games and things. We've got plans put in place, but they're very changeable, and we're planning for all sorts of eventualities of when we're allowed back on the water in some way, shape or form, whether that's by ourselves in small groups and not actually at our training hub, or whether that's, no water access until we're allowed back together to operate as a squad. We just don't know yet. So we just got to be a bit flexible, I think.
And Tom, you're in a K4, of course, so pretty important that you guys all train together. How are you being affected in Germany?
We've been affected also. I think it's nearly the same like in Great Britain, but our government did a good job, I think. And we had we have a special permission also for the Olympic athletes. Like when the postponement wasn't decided, they give us a permission to train but only these guys who qualify the spot for the Olympics. So we can train, like now we are here in my hometown, we are 3 people or 4 people who are allowed to train. And that's why we can also go on the water, but after the postponement, we put it down, the training, and like only 3 times a week, because we don't want to show the other peoples who are not allowed to do anything, like we can do everything. We didn't care or don't care about the situation at all, and so we try to we try to show it like
keep it on the quiet, Tom.
Keep it on the because the river is close to the city, or like nearly in the city, so everybody can watch us, and we try to don't show that we can do everything,
And how did you feel about a group? Obviously, you weren't social distancing then, as we've come to know what social distancing is. How did you feel as a group about doing that?
You mean in training or?
Yes,
Yeah.
the four of you.
Yeah. So our coach decided that he don't go with us in the gym, and also don't go on the water with a motorboat. He just go cycling next to the river and give us I don't know what it is called, but a phone which is in our boats, and he also have one, and then he can
Right.
talk to us. Yeah, and yeah, but also he don't go here in the training center because he's still 61.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Right.
he's one of the guys he has to care about. And yeah, but for us, we try to keep it as normal as we could. But we also go down with the training because now it's the time to maybe to relax. The season, when there will be a competition, I don't know. But then the season will be longer than normal, and we have to start as early as we can. But we don't know when we can start for the Olympic season. So now we have to take this time now for doing some stuff at home. I can't remember how long I've been at home for such a long time, so I can clean up everything. And
get your garden looking good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Tom, in terms of the four of you in the boat, I mean, you're all young, you're all fit, you're not in the high risk category in terms of you can still get it, but you might not be so sick. So did the four of you feel okay about being in the boat together?
Yeah, we feel okay, but of course we are four guys, and we are all in another country of Germany, or part of Germany, and so everybody has to fix their own stuff, and like doing the mindset with the postponement of the Olympics, because Ronnie is now 38, and next, or 39 this year it's his birthday. He will get 39, and so 1 year more. It's like you have to stay fit in this age. But
I hope you don't tell him that though, because I would imagine he would be quite upset.
but we talk. I think week by week. We have a small chat also on Zoom here, and so we can see each other and we talk to each other. And when there are some new dates or something like that, we talk about that, and I think that's important.
Yeah. Now, Jess might have been having some audio problems. Can you hear me now, Jess?
I can hear you, but can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Now, Jess, you're about to experience your first winter for goodness knows how long, because you're stuck down there in Australia.
Yeah, I don't actually know when the last time was that I had a full winter. Maybe throughout high school, I probably had to stay home a bit more, but I've been traveling to Europe since we were really young, when my parents were coaches, and having to go overseas for the World Cup events. So this is definitely going to be a shock to the system and a change for us. But obviously there is so much going on in the world that there are much bigger problems than me having to layer up with warm clothes for an Australian winter, which really isn't that harsh.
No, let's be honest. It's nothing compared to a German winter or a British winter. Yeah. What about training, Jess? Are you still able to get out on the water there in Penrith and do your regular training?
No, so it's been about 4 weeks that we haven't been able to paddle on the whitewater. Basically, the government brought out a rule that any unnecessary activities, non-essential activities, had to be stopped. So anyone who can work from home has to work from home. And I think it's the case for a lot of countries in Europe. It's the same sort of thing. And so sport basically, or elite sport, I should say, in elite training centres aren't considered essential. So with the postponement of the games, everything kind of had to shut down. So the training venue, the Penrith Whitewater Centre, got shut down, but we can still go outside to exercise. So we're lucky that, in our area, we can go for a bushwalk or go for a run, and we can also still paddle close to home. Although the situation's changing quite rapidly, and that might not be the case for much longer. And I know that already in some other states they're not able to paddle anymore, so we're sort of not sure. I do a lot more at home. I'm staying home a lot more because my grandma is living with us, so obviously she's a high risk. And so yeah, just I've got a little home gym set up and a swimming pool that I can get in as well and do some turns in my boat, and a backyard. So I feel lucky that we've got that space at least.
Yeah. And Jess, obviously there's a lot of unknowns. Take the Olympics and the Paralympics aside, just the ICF regular season. Nobody quite knows when it's going to recommence, if it's going to recommence. Being down in Australia, obviously, it presents some problems because it's a long way for you to come once the season starts. So how is that affecting you mentally and physically?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for the Olympics, the announcement, I was expecting it. So I was pretty mentally ready for that announcement. As for the season, obviously anything until the Olympics, we just assumed is going to be postponed or cancelled, and it's just whether or not anything will happen sort of September onwards. However, for us, we're not really sure we'll be able to attend even if there is any event, because Australia's said that their borders will be closed probably September, possibly till December. So I'm just getting mentally ready to not compete this year, to not travel this year, and to try and make the most of the situation at home and just sort of put things in perspective that it's bigger than us, and try and work on other areas as well. But at the same time, try not to lose too much fitness and strength and conditioning and skills. So it is quite challenging to not know when we'll next be able to paddle on the whitewater, because there's nothing we can substitute that with. We can't really practice those skills in any way until you're on the water. It's not like in other sports where there's an ergo that can kind of make up for it. We can paddle on the ergo, but you don't get that whitewater feel.
Yeah. And Jess, we know that with elite athletes, you have your timetable, your 4-year cycle that you work towards. Was it tough to cope with the decision, or the unknown, first of all, and then when the decision was made, even though you said you knew it was coming, was there a deflation at all? Did you feel comfortable with it all?
Oh, I definitely felt the deflation, like you say, and I think sort of the 2 weeks or the 10 days leading into that decision, training was bizarre. You were rocking up to training and you were thinking like, why are we doing these hard sessions? Why are we, let's just enjoy these last moments on the water, because we don't know when we're going to get another chance to paddle. So I kind of had that shift in that it was like a weird goodbye, like a lot of gratitude to be there on the water while we still could. And what's the point of doing those hard sessions when there's nothing on this year right now? So I guess that was the deflation for me, was that lack of motivation to complete those hard sessions when there didn't seem a point in a way. The motivation's coming back, and now it's more about finding a routine and a new normal that's very different to what we're used to. And I've tried to sort of create a little bit of a routine at home to get myself into gear to sort of achieve little goals every day, or maintain some fitness and do some sessions every day that I can feel good about, that I've, am being healthy and active. And as soon as we have some clarity on dates and next events, we can sort of plan better in terms of when we need to ramp up the training and what we need to do next.
And Tom said he's spent a bit of time now cleaning up around the place. Have you attended to any odd jobs or learnt any new skills during this time?
Yeah, I'm not going to show you the state of my room.
Well, you have plenty of time to clean your room now, so maybe that would be...
I'm trying to learn how to juggle.
Oh, okay. That's a good skill. It's a very useful skill to have. Tom, what about for you? Motivation. Is it easier when there's a group of you, when there's 4 of you, and you can talk to each other and bounce off each other, or has motivation been a bit of an issue for you guys?
I think the main point was that you has to be like ready for this decision that there will be no competition or the Olympics not this year, next year. So that will be that was the main part for the motivation, and I tried to solve the situation for me like as fast as I could. And after that, I tried to more enjoy the training. Like we are able to train, and all the other guys you can see on Instagram or Facebook, they are not able to train. So we try to have more fun in the training and talk to each other and talk about the situation. Because at home, it's just me. I don't want to go out of my flat at all. So that's the only thing I'm happy about, that I can go here to training and talk to the guys, and so that's a daily routine. And I also try to start my study. So continue. Like I stopped it for the Olympic preparation, and now I can go back to the studies, and it's all online. So because of the sport in the last years, I'm pretty know what has to be in the online studies. So
yeah. And what about you're not learning to juggle or anything like that, are you, or anything exotic?
No, it's like, I think my day is almost full now, because we did a lot of these online training sessions with the younger athletes and the younger kids. So normally we are in a training group of 20, 25, and we are only 4 of us. We are allowed to go here to the training center, and with all the other guys we're doing like once a week, like a whole training session to see each other. And then once more we do one more training session with the youngest kids at our club, so that they also stay motivated. And then we did I don't know how it is called, but with our K4, we did a video, and every club in Germany, they can write us a comment under this video, and then we decide 4 of them, and then we make a online training session with them. But we don't know the clubs. And for motivating the kids, but also the coaches, or I don't know,
what a great opportunity to learn from some Olympic gold medalists. A training routine is pretty exciting. Charlotte, for you, motivation, how's it been?
I think very similar to both the guys. I knew the decision was coming, and I think we wanted it to come. I think as a global athlete voice, we needed that decision sooner rather than later. So I think everyone expected it, but then it didn't make it any easier when it was there in black and white and you read it, and you suddenly realize that your entire 4 years that you've been working up to is now extended by another year, and that was hard to get your head around, no matter how much warning you have for that. So I felt a bit of a dip. I felt that lack of motivation, that why are we training, because we've got so much more time to stay fit for. And I think everybody knows that last year before games, it steps up, and you put your body through complete hell in those last 12 months, and that's okay, because there's the light at the end of the tunnel. But then suddenly that light is moved even further away, and you have to kind of think, well, how am I going to get my body through another year of that? And so it's about being smart, I think. And I think taking that bit of time away, or even down, or not doing anything. I know it varied in the squad that I train with. Some people cracked on because they wanted to just keep focused. Some people used it as a bit of a holiday time, as much as it can be at home. But I think it's really individual. And for me, it was not being too hard on myself on the days that I didn't feel like I wanted to do anything, because I think that was normal. And I think a lot of people felt that. And now it's about getting back into a routine of sorts for now, so that the days feel like they're actually worthwhile. And yes, it's not the training that we're used to, but are there different things that we can work on that actually we don't have the luxury of the time to work on when we're in a full sort of games year training, full steam ahead for the games? So Yeah, it comes and goes, but I think it's okay. And I think that that's what everybody's feeling, which almost makes it, makes it feel a little easier.
And all the teams, the British team, the German team, the Australian team, you all have access to good psychologists and people like that. Are you finding that they're being pretty useful during this time, Charlotte?
Yeah, certainly for us. And I think what's really key for us is that because we're a centralized program, we don't want to lose our sense of team, because yes, we're an individual sport, but we do have a really strong sense of a squad, and we didn't want to lose that over this period. So we've been doing online sessions together as much as we can. It's optional, you don't have to join in, but if you want to stay part of that team environment, you can. And then we're going through to the psych support is available still, again, if you want to access it. And the same with sort of performance lifestyle kind of stuff, because some people had planned for very different things after the games, and now that's been kind of moved around. Some people maybe going back to a job, and now they have that question of, are they going to do that, or are they going to carry on for a year? So I think we're really well supported by our Institute of Sport, and the UK sport funding that we get allows that to continue online, which is great. And yeah, on all the staff and athletes, I have been invited to, every Friday we do a quiz online on Zoom, just to kind of do something that's not related to paddling, but it allows us to have that bit of time together, if you want it. And staff and athletes have been joining in that, and it's been quite good fun.
Jesse, you've been doing anything like that? I mean, how are you keeping the team together in Australia, because your team's virtually been selected now? How is there importance placed on keeping the team in touch with each other?
I think at this stage it's sort of been a bit of everyone needs time to kind of digest. Some people have gone back home interstate, and are just taking some time off. So we're sort of staying in touch over social media, but I think I definitely like the idea of those sort of quizzes or Zoom sessions. So maybe we'll get onto those sometime soon. But because the situation is different in each state, we kind of can't connect through paddling at the moment. So I think everyone has to find different ways of connecting, and social media is a great way to do that. But yeah, there's been a few sort of social media challenges and things going around that do the rounds internationally as well. So it's nice to sort of be in touch with our friends overseas too.
I want to ask the three of you just your thoughts on the Olympics next year. And there's suggestions now that maybe next year might be too soon, and that it may not be able to happen even next year. What do you think should be the bare minimum for the Olympics to go ahead? Some of the guys said last week that they wouldn't feel comfortable going to the Olympics if not all the athletes had the same opportunities to train and travel beforehand. There's also suggestions that people might need to vaccinate, or there needs to be a vaccine before an Olympics can go ahead. Do any of you have any thoughts on I mean, should the Olympics happen no matter what, or should there be conditions, do you think? Jess, you want to start? Put you on the spot straight up.
It's a tough question. Look, I think it's still so early, and I have no idea. Nobody really knows how this situation is going to pan out, and what the situation will be in each country, and what those rules will be. But I know when the games were still scheduled for July, and the IOC was adamant they'd go ahead, they were talking about all athletes being in quarantine beforehand or afterwards, and being tested, and I think all those questions will still be thrown around next year as well. But hopefully by then, maybe the situation will have settled down a little bit, and we can see the Olympics as something that could bring some hope, and that sport can bring enjoyment and hope to people. And the Olympics has always had that power to bring people together. So I mean, I'm saying that from a pretty selfish point of view too, because I'd love to be out there competing and going there next year. But if that means, if the situation isn't safe enough yet, and if not everyone can compete there because countries aren't comfortable sending athletes, or whatever the situation, hopefully they can still postpone it, but I don't know how easy that would be either.
Tom, do you have any thoughts on this?
I think the postponement was the best way, like, because I don't know how, like, postponement in the Olympic Games with so much athletes and all the contracts, and like the Olympic Village, for example, it's already sold
Yes.
to the people in Tokyo, and you can't imagine to postpone one of these Olympic games. So I'm really happy that they postponed it and didn't cancel it. So, but now we have to see what happens in the next month, and I think they don't do it, or they don't will do the Olympics when not everything is safe, and maybe some of these countries couldn't do sports at all in this time. So, but I think when there will be the competitions, and the ICF says, okay, now it's okay, and everybody can compete, so everybody will compete because it's an Olympic Games, and maybe it's not about the medals maybe next year. So it's more about to come together, or hopefully safe together, and stay for a new time. And but postponement for one more year, I think that will be a decision when, like, for all people, or maybe some people quit at this point when they postpone it one more time. So there will be a cancellation after that when it's not possible to do it next year.
Yeah. Charlotte, what are your thoughts?
I think very much the same. I think obviously I would love them to happen next year. But it has to be safe. It has to be safe for not only the athletes, but the people that are volunteering, the people that are coming to support, because the Olympics and the Paralympics aren't the same thing without that connectivity of the people that come to support the sport. And when they was talking about having it behind closed doors initially before they announced the postponement, I'm not sure how I felt about that, because I can't imagine an Olympics or a Paralympics happening with nobody in the stands. I mean, it just wouldn't be. It'd just be so strange. And part of the excitement of being at a games is to have that excitement from the crowd and feel like it's something different from anything else that you've ever done before. And I think as long as it's safe for that to happen, but like Jess said, that the situation is changing so rapidly. I mean, we're working on 3-week changes here, and sometimes that's daily changes. So to kind of even, predict what's going to be happening in September is almost impossible right now. So to think about what might be happening this time next year, it's you can't predict that. So I think as long as everything's safe and it can be run in a way that embodies the spirit of what the game should be, I think that's when it should go ahead. But there's so much that can happen between now and then. Hopefully some of these intelligent people that are working a way of trying to find a way to get a vaccination for this thing and test people, hopefully that will start to come to light and people will feel a bit more safe about moving around and being together.
Well, I want to thank the three of you for joining us today. I want to finish off with any recommendations you might have. As the three of you said, all around the world, there are athletes who are banged up inside, unable to get out and do stuff. So I think it's a good time to share thoughts on good TV series, good books, good podcasts that you've come across that you might want to recommend to some of your fellow athletes around the world to get them through this difficult time. Has anyone got a suggestion straight up of something they've discovered that they want to share? Oh, so nobody's been watching anything. What have you been watching, Jess? What have you been watching?
I binge watched. No, I did. I binge watched Money Heist or Casa de Papel. That was a great binge watching show.
Do you recommend it?
Yeah, I recommend it. I have seen that there's also a new series about Michael Jordan coming out, so I'm very excited to get into that. And I've always been one to read athlete biographies, and I loved Andre Agassi's one, and Rafael Nadal's one, and Chris Hoy, and there's heaps out there. So if people are interested in learning a bit more about other athletes and what things they've been through, I think that's a great place to start, to just learn about how other athletes deal with adversity as well. Now's the time to.
Charlotte, what have you been watching, reading, listening to?
So escapism wise, I love medical dramas, and there's a good one on Amazon, New Amsterdam, because I've kind of binged Grey's Anatomy many times and ER and things like that. So a new one is out on Amazon Prime. So that's called New Amsterdam, which is great. And podcasts, I normally listen to them in the car when I drive to training. So I've not been listening to that many, but I like kind of true crime stuff, which I think a lot of people do. But I did just watch, again on Amazon Prime, they did a documentary or film of Andy Murray during his season where he was injured and he was going through his hip injury. And obviously as a Brit, I'm very well versed in Andy Murray's kind of roller coaster journey, but watching that, it was so eye-opening, and certainly from an athlete perspective of dealing with injury, dealing with setback, and just finding different ways to train. And it was quite apt for the moment. Obviously that was injury, this is something else, but I found that really interesting. So that's a good watch too. All
right. And Tom, what about you?
I try to don't watch too much on Netflix or Amazon Prime. Yeah, because I start my study again, so
yes, of course, yes.
Something like that. But yeah, I think I watched a good series on Amazon Prime. It was Blind Spot. It's an action series.
Okay.
Yeah, and then on Netflix, I watched the last time the Formula One series. It's also interesting because it's something comparable to the sport, and how it works there, and it's interesting.
Yeah. It's interesting that all three of you are turning to other athletes or stories about other athletes to keep you going through this time and to keep you inspired, which is really quite interesting. Guys, look, thank you so much for having a chat to us. I know this is a very difficult time for everybody, and I hope that people will find your stories today enlightening. It's been great to catch up with you, and I hope that we get to see you all out on the water very, very soon. My very big thank you to Tom Liebscher in Germany. Great to see you, Tom. All the best, mate, to you and the boys, the K4 boys.
Thanks.
Charlotte Henshaw from Great Britain. Charlotte, great to talk to you. You're just up the road from me, of course, but good luck, and hopefully you'll get out on the water very, very soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And Jess Fox stocking up her wardrobe with jumpers and tracksuit pants that she hasn't had to buy since she was 3 years old. Jess, enjoy your winter down under, and hopefully we'll see you on the water very, very soon as well.
Thank you, and stay safe, everybody.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks.